was living a lie. In the darkness I was scared of the light. With no direction I was running away. I tried to cover that I'm losing my mind.
Welcome to the Family Innocence Project radio program on Relevant Radio. The Family Innocence Project is a non-profit organization dedicated to keeping families out of court, resolving conflicts and injustices peacefully. I'm your host and founder of the Family Innocence Project, attorney Michelle MacDonald. Our guests include Judge Bruce Peterson, who is leader of a team that founded the Co-Parent Court. It's a specialty problem-solving court here in Hennepin County. Also with us is Barb Zorn, who is Vice President of the Family Innocence Project. She is a family innocence advocate, and she is also a restorative justice circle facilitator. And we'll talk more about that. Welcome, guests.
Hi, Michelle.
Now, Judge Peterson, I just want to say that you have a heart as big as the world. and I know I appeared before you in family court many times, and I got to tell you, when you were up there in the robe and I was litigating cases, I didn't know that at the time. But you have, it's really amazing what you are doing, because you have developed with your team a co-parent court model. What can you tell us about that?
Michelle, first of all, while we're being congratulatory, let me tell you how much I appreciate and value the work that you and Barb and others have done with the Family Innocence Project. You've really you've identified a great need, and you're providing some wonderful services, and I think even more important, like with this radio program and other things you're doing, you're generating a real cultural awareness of the difficulties with using court proceedings for family issues and the peaceful alternatives that are available. So congratulations to you both, and thank you.
And coming from you, that's quite a compliment. I remember when you spoke at one of our events, you turned to the group, the Family Innocence Project, and you said, and I'm not going to let you take it back today, you said, "Thank you, Family Innocence Project, for the honorable, high-minded, important work you are doing. Don't think of yourselves as just having a new public policy idea, a new interest group. Think of yourselves as being part of a culture spiritual revolution. This is a tide of evolutionary thinking that is going to change the way we relate to each other. And Family Innocence Project is a part of it, and it's going to happen." Thank you. And I'm not going to let you take that back.
I don't take it back. That sounds quite eloquent.
And I'd like to repeat that and say that the co-parenting model is also part of this evolutionary thinking. Do you agree?
I think that one of the most significant developments in the court system is the concept of problem-solving courts. And what we mean by that in our county is a series of specialty courts that address particular problems. We have a drug court, a DWI court, a mental health court, a veterans court, specialized courts for people with homelessness issues and prostitution backgrounds. And all those courts come from like you say, a kind of a tide of thinking that it's no longer just acceptable to see a flow of cases, case after case after case pass in front of us without thinking about what are the conditions that are causing these repeated cases and where will these people go when they leave court. So the problem-solving court model says that the court appearance can be an entryway, an access point into services, which we're not expert at providing, but that community resources are available to provide, and that court appearance can be the start of an effort to address the underlying circumstances that bring people in those situations to court on such a frequent basis. And co-parent court is our current effort to apply that problem-solving model to a very significant social issue, which is the challenges and burdens faced by low-income unmarried parents.
And tell us more about the details of it. Why does a couple, and I understand that co-parent court works with unmarried couples.
Yes.
So we're not talking about couples that are married and have children. We're talking about couples that have children that are not married. And what are the details of that? How does it work? And why, a problem-solving court? That's unheard of.
Well, let me back up just a minute about sort of the issue we're addressing. We have had a great increase in the last few decades in the rate of unmarried parenting in the United States. It's actually about 40% right now. 40% of children are born to parents who are not married. And this way of raising children and forming families is not spread uniformly throughout the population. It's much higher in segments of the population of less education, lower income, certain ethnic and minority groups. And so many of the challenges that people, say, of low income face anyway are exacerbated for children who are born of unmarried parents. Now, let me be clear. When I talk about statistics and averages, there are averages. Many children do wonderfully with unmarried parents and go on to great success in their life. But by and large, the children of unmarried parents, particularly low-income unmarried parents, face a much greater likelihood of winding up in the child protection system, the criminal justice system, to have sociological or economic shortcomings, psychological issues. The suicide rate is higher. The teenage pregnancy rate, the high school dropout rate is much higher for children of low-income unmarried parents. So we have a serious issue that needs to be addressed, and I think we've recognized that in our family courts now, we actually see many more unmarried parents than we do married parents, and that our systems have been designed to separate a relationship, divorce people, rather than to form a parenting relationship between people who haven't been married previously and may not always have a long-term relationship or even know each other that well.
I see. Forming relationships. Well, you are listening to the Family Innocence radio program on Relevant Radio. Family Innocence can be contacted at www.familyinnocence.org, or you can call 651-783-5878. It's a nonprofit organization dedicated to keeping families out of court, resolving conflicts and injustices peacefully. I'm attorney Michelle MacDonald, and we are talking with Bruce Peterson, who's a judge in Hennepin County District Court, who he and his team founded the Co-Parent Court, and it's a specialty problem-solving court dealing with unmarried parents. Now, Judge Peterson, how do these people come to you? I mean, first of all, I know from some of the articles that you've written, you authored times perhaps to get courts out of court. Time perhaps to get courts out of divorce, and science meets spirituality, the case against divorce courts. But are these couples that are coming to the courts for help, or is the courts seeking these couples to form these relationships?
That's a good question. I have advocated minimizing and even eliminating court control over divorces, and we could talk about that at some point. But with unmarried parents, you have the reverse problem. You have people who don't have a family relationship, don't have any legal ties, and it's my belief that the court has a very useful role in helping them form a family around some legal concepts and some practical planning that we encourage them to do. And there is right now, and many people don't understand this, but it's a very large federal program that enforces child support obligations around the country. Counties throughout the country are bringing in the fathers of children whose mothers are receiving public assistance in order to establish paternity and set child support. Not necessarily that child support would go to the mother, but that child support would be used to reimburse the county or the local entity for the welfare benefits being provided to the mother. So this is a very large and active federal program that's going on all over the country. So in every court in the country, there are large numbers of low-income unmarried parents being summoned to court to establish paternity and child support in this program. And many of us who have seen that program work have hoped that it could be the basis for a more expanded sense of what child support means. That child support doesn't mean just money, it means financial and it means emotional and time contributions to a child also. So co-parent court is a demonstration and it's a pilot project to see what happens if we expand the services provided to low-income unmarried parents beyond simply establishing paternity, saying, congratulations, you're the father, here's your child support award, here's your child support amount, your obligation, to providing services to help them learn co-parenting skills, develop a plan for their child, obtain assistance with services they may need to be fully functioning parents.
So in answer to my question, you are reeling fathers in, or parents that aren't paying child support, aren't paying monetary funds to the county that are being expended to another parent. Is that it?
Well, the fathers are being summoned to court all over the country. There are large numbers of low-income unmarried parents being summoned to establish paternity, to establish the legal fatherhood relationship. And co-parent court builds onto that system three kinds of services devoted to helping the parents become fully functioning parents for that child. One is, in our co-parent court, we have a series of 4 co-parenting workshops. These aren't parenting workshops. We don't talk about discipline and child development. We talk about communication, conflict resolution, the special contributions of both mothers and fathers, and the elements of a well-crafted parenting plan for a child. We have 4 3-hour workshops, and then we assist the parents in preparing a parenting plan specifically tailored for their child. And we have an easy-to-use format that we use with fill-in-the-blanks and check boxes and so forth. And we assist the parents prepare a plan for their child so they have some sense of what their unique contributions are going to be, what agreements they make about how their child is going to be raised. And then they come back to court, and I review their plan with them, and in almost every case, sign it as a court order that they have then determined is going to be the way they're going to raise their child together. And I should add, the one other service we provide is, because these are low-income parents, we learned very quickly through some survey research we did when we were forming this court, that there were many basic social service needs that these parents would have to have met if they were going to be fully functioning parents. We had a large number of men in these court appearances who did not have stable housing. They were moving from one girlfriend to another, or various family members. You can't be an effective parent unless you have a good place to parent. We have very high rates of unemployment. There are health issues, child care issues. So in addition to providing the co-parenting services, we offer case management and referrals for basic social services that parents need.
It sounds like, though, it's still a lot of court involved in the family, which when you're a project like the Family Innocence Project is dedicated to keeping families out of court, and you're reeling people in, basically you're reeling them in for support issues, correct? I mean,
well, when you say we, I'm not reeling them
not
in.
You.
The counties all over the country, because of their need for reimbursement for public assistance outlays, are summoning parents to court. They are there. There are streams of low-income parents passing through every family court in the country. And the question is, how do you treat them? What services do you provide for them? What message do you give to the fathers about what's significant about their role with their child? Are they simply there to write a check, or can they provide very, very important emotional and nurturing resources to that child?
This is the Family Innocence Project radio program on Relevant Radio. The Family Innocence Project is a non-profit organization dedicated to keeping families out of court, resolving conflicts and injustices peacefully. When we return, we'll talk to Judge Bruce Peterson more about the co-parent court.
There are lots of ways you and your family can avoid the flu.
You can all fly to a distant island and stay the entire flu season.
You can barricade everyone inside the house until late spring.
Or you and your family can simply get vaccinated against flu.
The flu can be serious for everyone, even really healthy people.
It can lead to pneumonia,
ear and sinus infections,
bronchitis.
At times, it can even lead to death.
Young kids are especially at risk.
In the U.S., about 20,000 kids younger than 5 are hospitalized each year from flu complications like pneumonia.
Sadly, each year, some children will die from flu.
Older people are at high risk too.
So is anyone with a health condition like asthma, diabetes, or heart disease.
That's why everyone 6 months and older should get a flu vaccine each year.
And the best way to protect kids younger than 6 months who are too young for the flu vaccine is for everyone else in the family to get vaccinated.
It's easy.
A lot easier than moving your family to a distant island.
Find a nearby place to get vaccinated at flu.gov.
Brought to you by HHS.
Welcome back to the Family Innocence Project radio program and Relevant Radio. I'm attorney Michelle MacDonald, and our guests include Judge Bruce Peterson, who's leader of a team that founded Co-Parent Court. It's a specialty court and a problem-solving court. And also with us is Barb Zorn, who's vice president of the Family Innocence Project. She is a family innocence advocate, and she is a restorative justice circle facilitator. Before we get to our guests, I want to read a quote from the Bible, and it's Matthew 7:12, quote, "Therefore all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them, for this is the law and the prophets." End of quote. Now, you may not recognize that, but that's the golden rule because of all the ye's and the thou's and the he's and the she's. But that's basically a quote that says, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you." And Judge Peterson, I would submit to you that litigants in court want to do unto others before they do it unto you. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, one of the things we try to help people understand in co-parent court is that communication and co-parenting requires empathy and compromise and good communication. That unless you are flexible and understanding with someone else's requests, you can't expect them to be flexible and understanding with theirs. So I think probably the golden rule might be a basic premise of good co-parenting.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as a family law attorney for over 25 years, I know, I'm dealing with one side of an issue now with the Family Innocence Project. We have family innocence advocates such as Barb Zorn that try to look at the whole family picture, and it sounds like your co-parent court is doing the same thing.
Yes, right. Instead of simply looking at child support as a financial obligation, and that is what's expected of the father, we're trying to look at the family as a whole, the parents as wonderful sources of resources in various ways with talents and skills and abilities and time and family connections that they both can offer to that child, and that can be added to the child support to make it a much more stable environment for the child. And I want to add, Michelle, I've been talking a lot about child support. One of the key partners in our team is the Hennepin County Support and Collections Agency, which has been very interested in experimenting and looking at different ways to expand the concept of child support, to offer additional services to fathers and other parents. And so there's a lot of interest in this approach in a lot of different areas of our community.
And I think that's critical because, Judge Peterson, I've read Minnesota Statutes 518A, which is the child support statute, and it's all about money. And I also do adoption work. And I am an adoptive parent. And when I went into juvenile court, which is a place where families are created, just like you're doing with co-parent court, I had to verify before a court, myself and my husband, that I was going to provide this child with a home, security, education, health care, all the necessities of life, and then love and companionship. And that's all I had to do. So nothing else was worked out between us in terms of who's going to pay the daycare and how much money we're going to make and to support this child. We were just obligated to support the child. There's also a criminal statute that obligates parents to support their children. So I'm somewhat very interested in bringing into it. It sounds like co-parent courts doing that, the love and companionship aspect of support, because so many fathers or mothers or whoever you're pulling into court to reimburse the county, they've left for a reason. Or they're not interested in the love and companionship part. So I think a parent that wants to form the family should be credited greatly for the love and companionship part of support, the monetary support aside. What do you think? I know that's a mouthful.
I'm not sure exactly what I'm responding to, Michelle. Certainly love and companionship is the most important contribution that a parent makes to a child. You said that the parents have left or they don't want the relationship. We see a lot of young unmarried parents who have a relationship. In fact, we see many young men who are contributing informally, financially, who are providing child care and other assistance as they can. What we find, though, is that they often don't have a plan for the future. What we know, unfortunately, is that there's a great fall-off in father involvement in these families as the child gets older. And so by the time the child is, say, 5, I could get the exact statistics, but up towards a half of the children are no longer seeing their father frequently, or if at all. And so, and that's because life goes on. Unmarried parents, unmarried relationships are not stable. They're not permanent. And the mother gets a new boyfriend, the father gets a new girlfriend, they drift apart. It's hard to keep in touch around a child. And so life gets in the way and father involvement falls off. What our concept is, that we're testing in a way, is can you, with an intentional plan, with careful thought early on, when the relationship is stronger, can you come up with some expectations and some understandings that will help this relationship transcend the things that life will throw at them, and keep that father involved and keep that mother relying on the father and have good open communication so that the child gets the benefit of both parents.
And you do that with a court order?
We do that with a parenting plan that the parties develop for themselves.
And it's not a court order?
Well, what they do is they bring in their parenting plan. I review it. In 99.9% of the times I've simply signed it as it is to make it an enforceable court order and to have it be recognized in other courts and throughout the country.
So it is a enforceable court order, because the parenting plans that I've seen, the parenting plan statute makes it separate, and kind of in a separate manner, and then there needs to be a designation of what that custody is going to be. So what you're saying is you do create court orders for these families.
Yes, we do.
Okay. And those court orders only involve, because these families have never been married, parenting plans and the money aspects. Who's going to pay who, what type of money?
Generally, yes. Actually, the child support is typically set at the parent's first appearance. We're working off the existing paternity and child support calendars, where paternity and custody and child support are established, and then these additional services are offered to parents, and they come back with a parenting plan addressing the parenting issues that haven't been covered in the first court appearance.
Now, turning to Barb Zorn. Barb Zorn's vice president of the Family Innocence Project, and you might not know this, Judge Peterson, but she grew up in the foster care system. She was married at age 18, and then after her divorce, she spent 20 years as a pediatric nurse before selling real estate the last, 13, 14 years. She received the Service Above Self Award, and she's helped multiple families in crisis, not as a person of the courts, but just as a friend of the family, so to speak. And she's also active in philanthropy. She's now married to her husband, Adrian, for over 20 years. Barb, what are your impressions of what Judge Peterson's saying? Because I know you grew up, your mother passed away, and then your father was a severe alcoholic.
Correct.
And you actually called Child Protection for help.
Yes. Many, many years ago, and we talked about that on one of our other radio programs. But I guess one of the questions I would have for Judge Peterson, how long have you been working with this co-parent court project?
We're coming up on the anniversary of our third anniversary, 3 years.
And you mentioned the 4 workshops that the parents go through. Communication, conflict resolutions. What were the other 2?
Well, they're not. Those are
Okay.
those topics are covered in all the workshops. But,
Okay.
Those are some of the important topics that are covered, and the elements of a parenting plan. How to develop a plan regarding the time each parent will spend with the child, how to allocate decision making, what to think about in terms of communication, how you're going to communicate with each other, emails, texts through family members, how you're going to handle extended family members. So all sorts of issues that come up in raising a child together are discussed in the workshops. The mothers attend workshops with mothers, the fathers attend with fathers. We were advised when we were initiating this project, and it has been borne out, that people are much more open and comfortable with members of their own gender. And I don't sit in on the workshops because my presence might be a little chilling to the discussion. But the facilitators tell me that the discussions are very freewheeling and open, and people help each other and throw out ideas and challenge each other's stereotypes. So they're almost like sort of support groups as much as workshops.
I love the fact that the courts are now looking at the underlying causes. The housing, the employment, the health issues, rather than just the cookie cutter that it used to be many years ago when I, was in the court systems.
Yeah, the cookie cutter for you, Barb, would have been you were just put in foster care and taken away from your father.
Right. So it's fabulous that you're looking at all of the different aspects.
Mm-hmm. I start out by telling Michelle, I think that's one of the most important evolutions in the court system.